We've been talking a lot about Bill 96, of course, as we get closer and closer to the National Assembly rising and taking its summer break, and, of course, getting closer and closer to an election. A lot of stories lately, too, about health and social services, including a new poll that says a majority of Quebecers think this is a negative with respect to health and social services. But then we found out just the other day, Quebec Solidaire says they will support Bill 96. And we said at the time we were kind of surprised because we thought Gabrielle Nadeau-Dubois perhaps was hinting that, well, they might consider it. Now apparently they've made their mind up. RUBA GHAZAL is a Quebec Solidaire M&A. She's responsible for the French language, and she is on the line. Ms. GHAZAL, thanks for being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Let's start off by asking, first of all, why you've decided to support this bill. A lot of people wonder, are you taking into account Anglo voters as well? What's the reasoning here?
Well, the reason is because Bill 96 is a step forward to protect the French language in Quebec. I give you an example. Now, Bill 101 will be applicable to companies of 25 employees instead of 50 like now. And even in Quebec Solidaire, we are sure that the best way to protect the French language in Quebec is in the workplace. And even we want to make Bill 101 applicable to smaller businesses like of 10 employees. Of course, the government should make sure that these companies will have all the support to make this applicable, but we are sure that this is possible. And you know about the Anglophone rights, you can be sure that if Bill 96 had an impact on the historical Anglophone rights in Quebec, Quebec Solidaire would have been the first to denounce this, but it's not the case. For example, in public health system, everybody, Anglophone, Francophone, even immigrants, they can still speak English in the public health system, even after the vote of Bill 96. So that's why we are for this bill.
Okay, I just want to stop you for a second with respect to you can speak whatever language you want in the public healthcare system. My understanding of the bill, the way it is now, is that after a period of 6 months, that's no longer the case.
No, not for the English language.
No, for immigrants coming here, for example, you get a 6-month window and then, sorry, you have to speak French?
Yeah, well, for this thing, what I tried to do during the study of this bill is to change this 6 months to 3 years. And even the Liberal Party tried for 1 year instead of 6 months for the immigrants, and the government refused. And this is not a good thing. But for the English language, it's possible anytime for everybody to speak English. What's not possible after 6 months is to speak other languages, like to have, for example, if Arabic, to have translation and things like that. This is not sure. There's a confusion about that. But for what I'm talking about is the public health system, not the education system, not other places. But for the public health system, and I also asked the question to the Prime Minister this week, and he told me that, in the public health system, there's Article 15 in another law, the public health law, which is not touched at all by Bill 96. But I know there's some confusion. What I don't like is the way they speak about the French language. You know, the French language should be a bridge about all communities in Quebec that make us to be together, and this will not affect the language we want to speak. Like for me, with my parents, I speak in Arabic, and there's no problem. But, with all other Quebecers, what is common to all of us, it's the French language.
Madame GHAZAL, I think what is you mentioned that there's a lot of confusion around Bill 96. It's incredibly confusing. And yes, 3 years is better than 6 months. But my understanding is that immigrants, if their language of choice after the 6 months, or even if it becomes 3 years, if their language of choice is English, they will not have that right. And so that's an issue, I believe. And I want to know, would you see any other issues with all the
I want to
confusion?
make sure that people who are hearing us understand that. Not in the public health system. This is not touched. But, and like I write it, I ask the question, and this, it's only the English. But in the education system, yes, there's an issue because, for example, if there's immigrants, like my parents, when we came here, if they want to speak to the teacher in English or another language, now it depends. You know, there will be a policy of the education system to see how we are going to make that, because after 6 months, this the employee, the public employee, they can't speak to immigrants in another language. So there is a confusion, and I tried to change that, but it wasn't possible.
So
but
if there's so much confusion surrounding this bill, why would you want to vote for it?
Because if we look in general, it's a good. It's a step forward to protect French. There's the negative aspect of this bill is not big as it seems to be. What I want to say, and it's very important, is the way we speak about French language. And I don't like the way that la CAQ, that Mr. Legault,
okay, now I get that.
Simon-Jeannet Barrette
okay.
speak about that. They don't want to reassure Anglophone communities because they want to make people see that they are tough. They are tough to protect the French language. This is a not good way to speak about
I want to ask
language.
you something. You're supporting a bill that also includes, from what I understand, search and seizure powers for the OQLF to walk into any business, no warrant, no anything else. You're all right with that?
Well, right now, the OQLF, they can go to the businesses, but the bill was written like in 1977 where there was no computers, and what it asks is that it's possible to it adapt the bill to the situation of this our century.
So you're saying yes, you're okay with that?
Yes, it's possible. You know, I'm not 100% of everything in the bill, and as I said, I tried to make some changes. It wasn't always possible, and they were not accepted. But in overall, it's not a bad bill. It's especially for the rights, the historical rights of the Anglophone community.
You understand that whole idea of historical Anglos and everything else. That's another thing that the Anglophone community doesn't like either, right? That refers back to something that was around in Bill 101. We didn't like it then. It's still not popular now, and it doesn't seem the CAQ is going to change their mind. And you've gone along with it. So my question to you, I guess, is are you not concerned with the fact that the bill, the way it is right now, does as much to diminish English as it does to protect French?
It's really... When we read it, it's not the speech of the government. The speech of the government is to say that they are tough to protect French, and as if the problem are the immigrants and the Anglophone. But in the bill, when we look at it, article by article, as I did, I spent hours and hours to study this bill. I tell you that it's not bad for the Anglophone rights, but the way they that CAQ try to speak about this is as if it's very tough. Another example, Quebec Solidaire is against Bill 101 and CGEPs, and Bill 96 doesn't apply Bill 101 in CGEPs.
Well, but
but it
does
limits
put a
admission.
cap on English, right? It puts a cap on English registration, English admission to CGEPs.
Which is also detrimental to francophones and allophones.
But it's this, we are with that, because what's important is there's a problem, and even all the political parties, even the Liberal Party, say that there's a problem. A lot of immigrants, even francophone, they are not going to the French CGEPs. But what Quebec Solidaire wants, it's not only to limit the places in the English CGEPs. What we want is to increase the financement of the CGEPs, the francophone CGEPs, and even maybe the English CGEPs.
Maybe.
But more to be proportional to the demographic proportion of each community. And like, for example, the Anglophone are 9%,
Right.
but they are having more and more, much more financement, public financement.
Okay, but you're saying this. You're saying this at the same time that even the French CEGEPs came out and said they support what the English CEGEPs want. And you're saying something different. We have to go because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
I have one last thing to ask you very, very quickly
Yes.
with respect to the health sector, which you seem to think is not going to be affected negatively by Bill 96. Why are we even having a discussion about language in the healthcare sector at all?
Why we are not having...
No, why are we having this discussion? I mean, Lucien Bouchard, X number of years ago said this is not, when you go to a hospital, it shouldn't be about what language you speak. It should be about what service you get. Why is language even an issue in healthcare?
I agree with you. Now the health public system, there's a lot of problems, and it's true that language is not the worst problem in public health. That's why we want to finance more, and we don't want to have private in the public health system. And the past government, they made a lot of cuts with the Barrett reform in the past. And I agree the most important issue is not the language in the public health system, is other to make sure that there's a quality in the public health
Then
system.
I'm very sorry to hear that you would vote for a bill that will put things in a more precarious situation. I'm sorry to hear that you're going to go along with that.
Yeah, well, maybe we will not agree, but what I can tell you is the way we speak about French, the way the CAC doesn't, is not, it's a divisive way. And at Quebec Solidaire, we want to make sure that it's to build bridge about all communities.
Je comprends.
With the French.
Merci beaucoup. Yeah, I comprends. Nous comprenons. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
RUBA GHAZAL, Quebec Solidaire, MNA.
I'm frustrated.
So am I. That's, that's a lot of kind of gabble talk in there, right?
I mean, I understand she has a message that she's, supposed to deliver, right? Except it makes no sense to me. If you have major issues with the bill,
let's pass it and hope. Let's hope for the best. That seems to be the attitude. I don't like it. It's not great. Let's hope it's not that bad.
No, that's not good enough.